All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. We're just about to get started. We have some reporters online too who will be joining. We'll have a little question and answer after the minister's made his statements. And without further ado, I will introduce Minister Kahlon.
Great, thank you so much. Good morning. I wasn't expecting this many people here. It's lovely to see you all here today, and it's great to be back here in Kelowna on the traditional territory of the Silk Okanagan people. I want to thank Mayor Dyas for hosting us today, and of course I see my colleague Renee Merrifield here. Nice to see you as well. I want to thank the Mayor, because the Mayor and I share a commitment to find ways to work together to find solutions to the challenges that people in Kelowna are facing. One of the most pressing concerns is the fact that there's so many people here that can't find safe and appropriate housing, which is leading to unsafe encampments. Communities along the Pacific coast and throughout North America are facing similar challenges. There is a critical lack of housing, which is pushing more and more people into homelessness. The situation in encampments here and other cities is extremely concerning. Entrenched encampments are not safe for anyone. They're not safe for the people in communities, they're not safe for small businesses nearby, and most of all, they're not safe for the people who are living in them. We feel a real desire to address this issue for people experiencing homelessness and wider within the community. That's why we're working with all levels of government, First Nations, not-for-profits, and service agencies, and we're focused on all the same goal, which is preventing and reducing homelessness throughout British Columbia. That's why we're working together to meet a full range of needs for people experiencing or at the risk of homelessness. Through our new homelessness response plan, which is Belonging in BC, we're investing up to $1.4 billion through Budget 2023 in new initiatives that's aimed at helping prevent and reduce homelessness, including adding 3,900 supportive homes to bring people off of the streets and prevent them from ending up in there in the first place. We're also working to create another 240 complex care homes so people that with overlapping mental health and addiction challenges have a safe place to go. And we're developing a new rent supplement program that will help up to 3,000 people access market rental housing. There's much more for us to do ahead, and that's why we're here today. Our government is committed to working with the City of Kelowna today and over the long term to provide people with supports and a safe place to live. We'll continue to take action with local governments to deliver coordinated response to homelessness and include prevention, immediate action, and stability, so that people can stay housed and healthy in their communities. Today, we are taking another step forward in Kelowna. Mayor Dyas and I are committed to working together to help people that are sheltering outdoors to move inside and eventually into safe, stable, and supportive housing. Our memorandum of understanding will include a shared commitment at preventing encampments from taking place in the first place by ensuring that people can get the supports and the housing they need when and where they need them. Our agreement includes partnering on two new programs. First, Homeless Encampment Action Response and Temporary Housing Plan, which we call HERTH. Through HERTH, we will provide emergency housing, shelter options, and immediate supports. And in Kelowna, we've committed to 120 new temporary units of housing coming over the next few months. The goal is to help people living in encampments or public spaces to get them inside, to access temporary housing that fits their needs, and allow them to live safely before and help them move into more permanent housing. Secondly, we're also taking steps to address another program, which is called Homeless Encampment Action Response Teams, or HART. Through this program, we will be able to respond quickly to encampments, keep people safe, and provide the supports and services that people there need. We won't be doing this work alone. HEART will bring together local governments, Indigenous and First Nations partners, healthcare agencies, and not-for-profit partners. Through today's MOU, we're also committing to work together to prevent and respond to encampments in Kelowna, including rapidly responding to encampments before they start to form and providing people with increased access to supports. I'm proud to be here today to celebrate this partnership during Homelessness Action Week, when we're all especially aware of the supports and services that are needed to break the cycle of homelessness. Kelowna is the second municipality to formally partner with us to implement these new programs. I am determined to work with other local governments and partners to ensure these services can be spread throughout the province. Everyone deserves to have the opportunity to come home and have a safe and stable place that they call home. Here in Kelowna and communities around the province, we're going to be taking action and working together to address these challenges. It's going to require co-ops, it's going to require not-for-profits, municipalities, home builders, and of course senior levels of government. But we're committed to working together on addressing the challenges that are here in Kelowna. With that, I want to invite Mayor to come up and say a couple of words about today's important step. So Mayor?
Mr. Kahlon, thank you very much, and thank you for being here. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to introduce some of my council colleagues who are here with me today. Councillor Maxine DeHart, Councillor Laura Wooldridge, Councillor Luke Stack, Councillor Rick Weber, Councillor Ron Cannon, and Councillor Gord Lovegrove, and MLA Merrifield, as Minister had already mentioned. And on behalf of my council colleagues, I want to thank the province and Minister Kahlon for their collaboration with the City of Kelowna to help address one of our most pressing community and council priorities. Today's announcement marks a significant step forward in our commitments to tackling homelessness. With existing shelters at or close to the capacity and extreme cold weather right around the corner, this meaningful action is a testament to our collective commitment to providing safe and secure places for people to call home. The initial units will be tiny homes, the first in the interior, small, private units that are quick and easy to install. Each resident will have their own private space, as well as access to shared amenities, hygiene areas, and on-site supports. The city will provide the land, and the province, through this announcement today, will provide the capital and operating investment and supports for this and other solutions into the future. Continuing on the path of partnership, BC Housing and the city will be providing more detailed information in coming weeks as the plans are finalized. I can assure you, though, that we are all working hard to get these units ready to welcome people in from the cold as soon as possible, as we are all aware how fast winter is approaching. Thank you to the province for also providing homeless encampment action response teams. As the minister had mentioned, HEART, support to our community. This new multidisciplinary regional program is designated to better support people sheltering outdoors through robust health, sanitation, income, harm reduction, fire safety, social, and cultural supports. Addressing homelessness in our community is complex and requires a collective effort of all individuals. We also know that the concern and challenges are not unique to our community here in Kelowna. We look forward to working together with our regional partners to see solutions across the Okanagan that support the most in need. We hope today's announcement shows a path forward. We recognize the crucial role of our provincial government in making these initiatives possible. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the dedication and hard work of BC Housing, our community organizations, social agencies, advocates, and our residents, who have long been champions for solutions addressing homelessness. I know our combined efforts announced today will provide safe shelter from the cold, better access to support services, and put people on a path to stability, all with the aim of helping to move them into more permanent housing options in their future. This is something we continue to work on with our government partners as well. Temporary housing options are a vital part of a healthy housing spectrum. Our commitment to action continues to, and we recognize more needs need to be done to create more affordable and attainable housing for people within our community, and for these individuals also to transition to into the future. We know these 120 units are just the beginning, and we look forward to building on this momentum of collaboration and further discussions on affordable and supportive housing to be delivered across our city and region, and receiving more complex care allocations with the support of Interior Health. But today, we celebrate this step forward for more purpose-built shelters to get individuals in from out of the cold. Thank you again to the Minister for being here with us this morning. His continued support and partnership, and for the open and frank discussions that I have been able to have with Minister Kahlon since I have been in office. Together, we are making a difference, and together we will create more inclusive and safe, livable cities with working together in this partnership. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're ready for some question and answers. We have some online as well. For those reporters who are online, enter *1 and you'll be entered into the queue. But for now, would anybody want to get started with a question?
We have committed to 120 net new units for Kelowna, and I know that the mayor and council have wanted for a long time to try innovative approaches that might work for individuals, in particular individuals who have a real tough time moving into supportive housing, whether that's because they've been outside alone on their own for a long time, or whether it's that they just are challenged to live with other individuals. And so finding innovative solutions is something we want to do, and Kelowna has stepped up and said they want to pilot perhaps tiny home model here in Kelowna. I think that's an exciting venture. And so the 120 units are committed in funding, and I have said to the mayor that if there's more, we're going to look at sites and work with them to address that.
And where will they be, and are they permanent?
Do you want to address the where location?
Where will they be, and are they permanent?
The locations, as I had mentioned, are something that we're just working through with right now with BC Housing, and they will be announced. It is something that we've been working on, but we just want to confirm them so that it ends up being we don't say it's at this specific spot and we need to change it. So they will be announced within the next couple of weeks and exactly where those locations are. But the process was that we wanted to be certain that this initiative was moving forward, and that, with the minister being here today, is confirmed.
This is exactly what they're listening for.
Sure, yep.
I don't know if I need the mic for that, but.
I can hear you. Oh, it was Victoria.
Sorry, but it is for the mayor, Mayor Dyas. Are you able to say if this will be in a few locations? Or will it be in many locations?
Yeah.
Are we're talking about a few spots?
We're speaking of 3.
Well, that's pretty.
Yeah, and initially the first 120 will be on 2, but we are speaking of 3 locations.
When you talk about parks, and I know you mentioned
Yeah.
we're going to try and look at moving that along. In terms of the rail trail, where's the rail trail stand? I know you mentioned
Yeah.
Obviously, there are it's on the rail trail.
Yeah.
So just maybe speak to the rail trail in terms of
Yeah.
that program.
Well, there's a couple things I'll say. The units are always where people's focus goes to, which are important. We need places for people to go, but the heart piece, I think, is a signature piece, and Kelowna actually has been leading the way in an innovative pilot where they've got an individual who is got skills, like a social worker skills, to be able to partner with bylaws to help individuals. What heart means is we're going to have healthcare professionals, bylaw, maybe in police in some cases, healthcare workers, all working as a dedicated team to build relationships and trust with individuals, because that's what's key right now. We've seen in encampments throughout the province, in fact, across the country, when that relationship is built, it's easier to assess what people's needs are, what the right housing fit for them is, and then see them to be really successful in the outcomes. As far as the folks that are in the encampments here, there's multiple solutions. We've got these 120 units that we've committed funding for, but we've also found that in some cases, people just need rent supports to be able to get into market rent. And so we have that available. And in other cases, people are looking to reconnect with their communities, but they found themselves here and they can't get home. And so those opportunities are available as well. So it's not just 120 units, it's the heart units, it's the rental supplements that will be available for individuals as well.
This might be a silly question, but in terms of the rail trail, I know this was a temporary housing solution for the city for those shelters outside. Is the idea to try and get rid of that altogether with these additional 120 units?
If I can just make a comment on that. If I can just make a comment first. Our position from the province has been clear. We believe encampments are not safe for the community. They're not safe for the individuals living in them. What I'm very proud of being here with Kelowna right now is because Kelowna says, hey, we want to work with you to get housing available for people before we move in encampments. And so that's the relationship that we've signed today. It is an example for other cities throughout the province to say, let's take care of people, make sure they have somewhere to go and not just displace them and make the situation that they're in much worse for them. So I want to recognize the mayor and council for taking that leadership. And sorry, another question was for you, Mayor, so go ahead, please.
Right along those very same lines. I mean, we understand the spots within our community where there's pressures and there's encampments that are there, but the process would be with the heart part of this program would be involving the social service sector, bylaw sector, those individuals in our community who feel that there would be good progress made for people as they move to these other housing units. So the goal is to definitely continually make the community safer, and by the process of making the encampments smaller, we're making the community safer. But we will be working through that over the next little bits to with that end goal of just making the community safer.
Question here. I'm at the mic, so maybe I'll take this one here.
Yeah.
So it seems like 120 units that there's more people at the rail trail site than 120. What is the long-term plan for reducing homelessness? And then when will these go in?
Yeah, so the 120 units, our goal is to have them within a few months. So the work has already started. Once the city finalizes sites, the work will start with identifying contractors. In fact, some of that work has already been happening on what the units can look like, who might be the contractors that can come in with some of the units. And of course, we know the need is great, and the need is great. We're seeing this across North America. And so it's not one solution that will solve this, because we have people who are working full-time jobs who are finding themselves homeless. And so it's not just folks that have mental health. It's not only folks who have been maybe homeless for a while or have addiction issues. It's also people who are working, who are really struggling. And so the solution to the housing crisis, yes, this is an important part of it. And I applaud the city for taking the step and saying we want to make sure everyone has a roof over their heads. But we also need to get more housing online, and we need to do it faster, whether that's purpose-built rentals, and I'm not saying just not-for-profit housing. I mean, we're 2 decades behind, and all types of housing is needed at the same time. And so this is not an isolation of all the other things that need to happen.
Follow up about these tiny homes. Do I understand it correctly that you will fund this, roll it out, see how it works, and possibly replicate it in other cities if it's successful?
That's correct. So right now we have tiny homes in Victoria and in Duncan. And certainly what we're looking to do here, as learned from Kelowna, is that this is a different type of condition. It's a little bit colder in the winters, a little bit warmer in the summers. And so seeing how it works here is going to be very important for us to see how we roll out. But also the approach that's being taken here at Kelowna is a little different because it's a recognition that that different types of housing is needed for different types of people. And so working right now with a cross-coordinated table to identify individuals that would be better suited for supportive housing in the traditional form and maybe in forms of tiny homes is something that we're going to learn from. And of course, if it's successful, we will look to do it in more communities around the province.
I have a question.
I'll talk to the gentleman after, so I'll answer your questions now.
So what is the appeal of tiny homes? Why is that the model being chosen?
Well, we're trying it out. Supportive housing, when it's a purpose-built site, it works. We've seen it work in communities throughout the province. But we also hear from individuals who haven't lived with anyone else for a long time, and they find it really challenging to go into a site where there's a lot of people close to them. And so, at this stage, we're willing to try anything innovative that will help people stay housed, because that's the ultimate goal. We don't want people to go in and go out. And so there's an interest, a growing interest internationally at this type of model. And Kelowna said, hey, we want to try it. And so we're willing to partner with them to try it. Speed.
And the other item which we all are aware of is that time. The ability to look at providing units in a quick point of time, which is a warm space and creates that house. And these are things that allow us to do that, where a normal building structure may take somewhere within a few years to actually be, but the need is current.
Are we looking at a timeline in terms of this winter?
Within the next few months is our goal to have these units up.
Is there an international model you may reference that will be most similar to the one in Kelowna?
Well, the tiny homes model has been tried in other communities. As I highlighted, it was we tried it in Victoria, we tried it in Duncan. It's been successful in Duncan, but it varies community to community because if you've got limited land, you want to be able to get the most out of that footprint. In some communities, there's more land available, and so the allure for us in this is that speed. We can get these units up much quicker than we can traditional housing units. And second, it provides a type of housing that might be better for some individuals, which we desperately want to get indoors.
One more question for the mayor. I got the mic, so I win.
It's the mic. Whoever gets the mic wins.
This one's for the mayor.
Yes.
I can't recall a supportive housing project that didn't come with vocal opposition from people in the neighborhood. Do you expect that once we hear where these tiny homes are going to be located?
I hope not, but I also know that we hear a lot of concern within our community about the cold weather coming. So as the minister had mentioned, our goal is to try to build all forms of housing. This council, since we have been in office, have moved forward about 17 or 18 other housing units that will come into this community. And there have been concerns with respect to those housing units being built in neighborhoods, and we tried to address them the best that we can. And this is another, part of our community that needs housing, and there may be some concerns with respect to the development, but there are concerns right now on what is happening with the encampment. So what we're trying to do is to present the best possible solution, and we'll work with the interest and concerns and the communications that we have to try to answer them the best of our ability.
I had a question for the mayor or the minister. What's the process to identify the individuals that will be moving into these units?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we will be working with the city to create a coordinated access table, which is health professionals, our not-for-profit partners, First Nations voice, our local government, maybe bylaw voice, where they sit together and identify individuals and identify what's the right fit. And that's a really important process that we've learned that helps make sure that the people moving in are ready for the housing, and that it's a right mix of people at that housing. And so that table will be set up pretty quick to start identifying individuals. It'll be in partnership with that HEART funding that we've provided, which is giving the ability for bylaw, dedicated health professionals and others to be able to build relationships to identify what people's needs are, who is actually ready for housing. Perhaps there are individuals who need complex care housing, and so that might be a better fit for them. But all those things need to be assessed, and that's the work that's going to be starting now that the funding is here.
Minister, can you just speak to what exactly the housing is going to look like? Is it going to be permanent to that location? Can someone take it and move it somewhere else? Can you speak to kind of what it will look like?
Well, with all of our housing, whether it's the modular type of supportive housing or whether that's tiny homes, these are movable units. The funding is available right now for 3 years. Our goal over the long term is to get housing online so that people can have that housing, and that's our goal over the long term. But this funding is in place for 3 years for the supports that we're providing.
Just out of curiosity, how tiny is tiny?
Yeah, so Mary, you want to jump in here?
They're about 60 square feet. So I mean, it creates. I've been in them. It creates a great environment. There's a very warm area. There's a bed that's provided. There's a dresser that's provided. There's an area to hang clothes that's provided. I mean, it's the best possible solution that we can do with the need that is in front of us and needed very quickly.
And that's not the washroom's not in there. There's a separate area for washroom. There's a separate area for people to have meals. But that's just a dedicated unit for them to sleep in safety. And we've seen it again be successful in other parts of the province.
Are these pictures of them back here?
Yes, actually, yeah. I just noticed that now.
And part of that is and this is and part of this is just to understand that there's, as you all know, there's additional costs when you look at running plumbing, when you look at running all of those other items in there. This is a way of establishing it as economically as possible, but also creating a positive environment.
What would be the cost, Minister, for a single unit?
I don't have a breakdown of the cost right now. It's something that we can get to you. We have committed to 120 net units, and so we're just finalizing. Once we have the site locations, we're able to do more fulsome, find the appropriate numbers for it. We will make that public.
And the other question I had was just in regard, you mentioned 3 years of funding and Kelowna could be an example to the province. What are the parameters then to determine whether this is successful or not?
Well, one of the parameters is, whether we start getting people housed. Of course, that's an important step. This model, this HEART model, it's not brand new. We've seen this model work. It was a model that was actually founded in Seattle that other parts of the U.S. are now starting to replicate, and certainly we're trying to emulate here in British Columbia. We've seen proven success when you have a dedicated team working with individuals, and we've seen from other jurisdictions success in not only getting people housed, but getting them moved out of supportive housing into market and into employment. And I appreciate an earlier question around what does success look like? And I was just in Vernon a little while ago visiting the mayor and seeing supportive housing there. Got to meet an individual who actually lived on the street, went to shelter, got into supportive housing, got skills trained, and now is working in the supportive housing helping other individuals and living in market rent. So this system works, and that's what we're doing today. We're setting a path for hope for individuals that are really struggling in our community.
Just to double back to the tiny homes themselves, so they would be placed in a cluster somewhere and there would be a separate communal building for like washroom facilities? Is that how it works?
Yeah, there's a structure essentially that is available for washrooms and for meals.
Like showers?
That's correct, yeah. Okay, I don't know if there's phone line questions. There are?
Yeah, if you're ready over there, we've got some questions on the line. First one is from Richard Zusman at Global News.
Hey, Minister, thanks for doing this. Similar issue, different city. I'm just wondering at what point the province is going to step in with the City of Vancouver and end the encampments in Crab Park. The Premier promised last November that that park was going to be removed, and we're sitting here in October and it's still there. So what is the timeline for ending that encampment?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. And encampment at Crab Park is different than other jurisdictions, given that there's court orders around what needs to happen, ensure that before any movement can happen in that. And so it's a little bit different than other encampments around the province, but we are learning from those experiences, and that's why the step today is an important one. Getting the housing available so that you can move individuals into housing before you displace them is essentially what the courts have told us that we must do, and we are working on it. I've met with the Mayor of Vancouver just a few weeks ago to talk about how we can address that encampment. We have been able to get many people housing that were on Hastings Street encampment. We just opened up the Ash site, and people are being moved in right now at the Ash site, which is an important thing, and we're going to continue that work when Chalmers Lodge comes online.
Richard, any follow-up?
Our understanding is the people of Crab Park have been offered housing. They have largely turned it down. Do you believe that you have met the court's requirements here? Or what else do you believe the province and the city needs to do to meet those requirements, and how quickly can you meet those requirements?
Yeah, you're correct, Richard. That site had over 80 people at one point, and I believe now it's at 37. And we've been offering people housing, and people have been taking up that housing. We are looking at what is required for us legally in order to be able to take steps to ensure everybody in the community is safe. That park, because of the court order, brings particular challenges to us on how we can work with the city to address it. But the key is housing. And so as Ash Street comes online, as Chalmers Lodge comes online, as other units that we're looking to purchase come online, we're able to create that capacity for more people to get that housing. I will say that we're working closely with the City of Vancouver as well to try to address that challenge there, and I'm confident that in the coming weeks we'll have more to say on that.
Great, thank you. Next question online is from Katie DeRosa from the Vancouver Sun.
Hi, Minister. I'm wondering if you could comment on the actions by Campbell River City Council, which in late September voted to declare the Campbell River Art Gallery a bad neighbor, and also declared the Vancouver Island Mental Health Society a nuisance property because of its overdose prevention site. And specifically, the issue with the art gallery is because it hosts programs for homeless people, and it has become a gathering for the unhoused, and now those two nonprofits are at risk of losing their property exemption. So is this a proper, what do you say about the actions by this city council as a sort of retaliation for hosting homeless people?
Well, first off, it's Homeless Action Week, where we recognize the not-for-profit providers that are actually doing this very difficult work. This is not easy work to go in and support people who are very vulnerable, who are struggling, and to have a city attack people because they're trying to do their best to make sure people are housed is not the way you address this. I met with Campbell River officials at UBCM. They talked to me about getting more supportive housing online, which I said I would work with them to do that. But attacking people who are trying to be good neighbors and trying to address that challenge in communities is not the way to go about it, because in the end Campbell River may get more supportive housing units, but they may not find any willing partners to step forward to actually operate them because they feel they're being vilified for doing the work that they do. And so my recommendation to the Campbell River Council is work with your partners. We're willing to be at the table. Let's find solutions. I know it's not easy. I know people get frustrated and they're tired and they want the problem just to be solved, but the only way to address it is by working together.
Thanks, Katie. Any follow-up question?
Yeah, does this speak to, a lot of critics have said the housing and the opioid crisis are linked, because if individuals are using drugs in doorways or parks, it's because they might not have a safe home to go to. And so with the legislation last week, we saw that people are being encouraged to use overdose prevention sites, but some cities like Nanaimo, Vancouver, are actually shutting down overdose prevention sites. So in what way does housing connect with the opioid crisis? And what is the urgency then of getting, like you mentioned, those supportive housing units in cities like Campbell River so that all the issues are addressed?
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation, and it's happening in every community. And I would say housing is connected to everything. It's connected to mental health. It's connected to addiction. It's connected to the economy. That's why it's so critical that we get all types of housing online as fast as possible. And you know, the challenging piece with use and public use and drugs, it's a challenge because we know that folks don't want to see that in their parks where their kids are playing. That's why we've taken the important step that we have. But at the same time, there's people that are using drugs, and we need to find a place for them to do that safely so they're not doing it in our parks. And so these are difficult conversations. I know that all of us have to answer to our constituents, answer to our people in our communities, but we have to find ways to work together because there's no easy solution. There's no magic switch that will solve all these problems. It's difficult conversations that we have to have at the table.
Great, thank you. Wolf Deppner, Black Press, you're up next.
I feel like I'm in question.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for taking my question. A question to the Minister. You mentioned that you were in Vernon, you're in Kelowna today. What, if any, discussions have you had with municipal leaders in those two communities as well as other communities in the interior about those communities joining the list of communities targeted for additional housing?
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Wolf. I was just chuckling to the mayor that I can't avoid all of you. You found me wherever I go. So, Wolf, to your question, I'll say that we're not picking communities that need targets by just meeting with them and randomly putting them on a list. We're using data to decide what communities need the housing the most, and then when we identify them, we're identifying what type of housing that they need, how many one-bedroom, two-bedroom, three-bedroom suites do they need? What kind of supportive housing do they need? So that we can have proper planning at all levels and be coordinated. So the mayor hasn't asked me about that. He may now after you've raised it. But it's not something that I raise with individual mayors with. I've said that we're using data. In the coming months, we'll identify and make public the next 10 communities, and then we'll move on to the next 10 communities because the challenge we're dealing with housing and the crisis that we're dealing with, it doesn't require just one community to step up. It means every community has to play a role. Eventually, we will get to Kelowna, we will get to other communities, but I can't say that we are there today.
Thank you. Wolf, a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Obviously, homelessness in British Columbia, people often associated with, we heard it with Vancouver, with the larger communities, but the province is a big place, has different regions and different cities within those regions. What, if any, specific approach might there be when it comes to dealing with homelessness in the Okanagan, when it comes to dealing with it in the Cariboo region, in the Kootenays? And I ask this question against the background of different climatic realities. You touched on those in your remarks earlier. What, if any, sort of specific regional approaches will we see to deal when it comes to dealing with homelessness?
Well, I'll first say about Kelowna. Every time I come to Kelowna, and individuals that come talk to me at a coffee shop or wherever I go, they talk about the winter coming and making sure that people have housing. I mean, that's the amazing thing about this community and many communities out in this region, where people know it's going to get cold and people are thinking about other individuals and how to get them in a place where they're not, struggling in the harsh winter. And so the solutions that we have for housing, a lot of the programs are standard and they can work in all communities, but there's a nuance in every community that we need to work with. And that's why the HEART announcement and the HEART announcement we've done with the City of Kelowna is so important, because there's unique needs and there's unique challenges that are unique to Kelowna, and we need to be able to be flexible enough to work on those solutions with them. And my goal is that as we roll out more communities that sign on with the MOU, that we're able to find ways to be flexible enough to address local challenges.
Thank you. One final reporter online with a question. It's Alec Lazenby from BC Today.
Hello, Minister. So you said previously that the 120 units will be rolled out within the next few months. Kelowna last year was a specific concern when it came to winter and people living on the streets through the winter. That's coming up on us shortly, like it's October at this point. So I was just wondering, why was this MOU and why were these units not maybe planned earlier, talking about the spring or the summer, so that they were for sure ready for winter when people needed them?
Yeah, thanks for that, Alec. We've been working for months on this. This is not a, we talked yesterday and we're signing an MOU today. Staff have been working with BC Housing and our ministry staff on identifying what types of locations. The mayor actually visited various companies that do this type of housing to make sure that the type of housing they're looking at is the right fit for the community. So work has been happening for a long time to get to this point today. We're just waiting for the city to just finalize where the location will be, and we're going to be able to move quickly. The benefit of the tiny homes is that they can go up very fast, and so I'm confident that we're going to be able to get those units moving really quick once the locations are finalized. But this is work that's been happening for some time, Alec. This is not something that we just started a few weeks ago.
Thank you. Alec, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. So just going back to the housing targets, I know you've been asked this question before, but what do you say to criticisms that for many of the first 10 communities put on the list, that the amounts they're being asked to build, I know there's a difference between net new units and units being constructed, but what are your response to concerns that it isn't much different from what many of the communities on the list are already accomplishing and won't actually make a meaningful dent in our housing shortage?
Well, to be honest, I haven't heard that from any other community than some folks in Vancouver. Every other community realizes the targets are ambitious, but doable. It's in no one's interest to set a target for a community that is no way reachable for them in any certain way. And so what we've done is we've used data, we've done modeling, we've explained to communities on how we got to where we've gotten to, and it's going to be a challenge for many communities. As for Vancouver, you alluded to it in your question, which is it's net new units. The targets that we set were net new. A lot of the data that's being compared is data of how many housing starts that are happening in communities. And I think it's important to note that we set the bar at 75% of the complete total. This is a baseline. This is not where we'd like you to be in the end as an ideal. This is, you must reach this as a minimum, but we would like you to reach to the 100% target. And City of Vancouver has said they understand and they're going to be going for that 100% goal. It's also a reflection that it's not just one community that's going to be important to address that challenge. Something I talked to the mayor here about as well. It's not just Kelowna that needs to address the challenges of the region. Everyone in the region has to play a role, and same with Vancouver. Vancouver plays an important role, so does Burnaby, New West, and North Vancouver, et cetera. And so I'm confident that the targets are the right targets for those communities. If they do much better than that, then we all benefit.
Thank you, Minister Kahlon. Thank you, Mayor Dyas. That's the end of the formal Q&A, and we've got the images up here if you want to get a closer look at them.
Great.
Thank you.